Shalom. All praise to Yahweh, Shem Yahshua, Bashem Kadash. Double honor to the apostles at GreatMillStone. This is it says most Americans are slaves and they don't even know it. Now, the main slaves in the planet is you tribes, you Negroes, West Indians, Puerto Ricans. Okay. But you know the system's been changed from hardcore bondage to debt slaves. Okay, because Esau enslaved pretty much his own people and everyone through this debt. Because Esau's the devil. It says most Americans spend their lives working for others, paying off debts to others, and performing tasks that others tell them that they must do. Excuse me. These days we don't like to think of ourselves as servants or slaves, but that is what the vast majority of us are. It is just the mechanics, the mechanisms it's just the mechanisms, give me a sec, of our enslavement have become much more sophisticated over time. It has been said that the borrower is the servant of the lender. And most of us, most of us start going into debt very early into our adult lives. In fact, those that go to college, get an education, are likely to enter the real world with a staggering amount of debt. And of course, that is just the beginning of the debt accumulation. So, people in this society, man, it's based off debt, mate. That's just the bottom line, man. It says today, when you add up all the mortgage debt, all credit card debt, and all student loan debt, the average American household is carrying a grand total of $203,000 of debt. Overall, American households are more than $11 trillion in debt at this point. And even though most Americans don't realize this, over the course of our lives, the amount of money that we repay in our debts is far greater than the amount that we originally borrowed. Now the scripture talks about that usury. You know what? Let me find it because I didn't add it. I didn't think about that scripture. It's just come to my head now. It's in Leviticus somewhere. See if I can find it. Right, Exodus 22:25. If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer. Thou shalt not lay upon him usury. Okay, so that's going into what do you call it, man? When you what's it called, man? When you basically put on interest usury. Nashak. Okay. So, like, Esau will say, "Oh, here, I'm gonna give you $1,000. Borrow $1,000, but you're gonna have to pay. When you're paying it back, you're gonna have to pay me $2,000." That's just a quick little example, man. And you got your interest rates and and all that. Esau, depending on how much you borrow, man, and what loan it's for, man, they will have you paying interest double or even more than double than what you just borrowed. So, for example, you could borrow £50,000, and you could make it fucking paying back in $2 million. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, man. I'm not going to give you the exact interest rates of different things, but this just shows that this man's a devil, because the scripture says you ain't supposed to do that. I just read it. Where did I leave off? In fact, when it comes to credit card debt, you can easily end up repaying several times the amount of money that you originally borrowed. So we work our fingers to the bone to pay off these debts, and the vast majority of us are not even working for ourselves. Instead of our work makes the business that other people own more profitable. So if we spend the best of our lives building business for others, servicing debts that we owe to others, and making others wealthy, what does that make us? In 2015, the words servant and slave have become negative connotations, and we typically don't use them very much. Instead, we use words like employee because they make us feel so much better. But is there really that much of a difference? Now, when you go into the scriptures, you find out that a man would work. If you work for someone, you were someone's servant. You work for 7 years, and that after that 7 years, you should be able to go free. That's in the scriptures, man. You should be able to make enough to go free and set your own thing up. So it says, this is how Google defines servant: a person who performs duties for others, especially a person employed in the house on the domestic duties or as a personal attendant. This is how Google defines slave: a person who is the legal property of another and is forced to obey them. Employee: a person employed for wages or salary, especially at non-executive level. Yes, most of us might not be legal property of someone else in a very narrow sense, but in a broader sense, we all have to answer to someone. It's a lot. It says we all have someone that we must obey. We all have obligations that we must meet or else face the consequences. At this point, Americans are more dependent on the system than ever before. Small business ownership in the US is at a record low, and the percentage of Americans that are self-employed has fallen to unprecedented levels in recent years. From a very early age, we are trained to study hard so that we can get a good job just over broke and be cogs in the system. Yeah, because Esau, you know, and I got a scripture on this, like, Esau doesn't want you to be self-sufficient. He wants you to rely on him. And that's part of the New World Order as well. Control all life. That's why he done away with farming. He's got the industrial age. And people, you know, you could go to a town where that towners, you could make your own honey and stuff, but it's illegal. Like, to do most of these things, like, if you want, you can't even set up a stand on the side of the road. And even like sell things. That just shows you in a prison system. This is a prison system. You're not free. Let me get that. You're not fucking free, mate. Now I know what I'm looking for. I'm just gonna see if I can actually even fucking. Jeremiah 2:14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Because in you, Jakes, you don't even want to accept that you're fucking in captivity. You don't even want to accept that. No, I'm free. No, you're not, bro. You know, America's a land of opportunities and all this crap. You know, in America, man, you know, you got opportunities. You got the American dream. You can do what you want to do. You can be what you want to be and all this. No? You're a slave. You can't leave America without a license. You start in debt. You got to work your way up to get that license just to be able to leave. And then you got to book time off work. It might take you months. You can't book. You probably get a week off. You know, you're not free. You can't just get up and do what you want and go where you want to go. You can't even just set up a stand. You fry some chicken. You can't just sell it out there. And I don't care. Even if you're a chef and you got paperwork to say, "Yep, I know what I'm doing," you still can't do that. Okay. So it's BS. But what is life? Is that what life is about? Is it just being a cog in the system that ultimately benefits others? Perhaps you don't think that any of this applies to you personally. Well, if someone came to you and asked you what you truly own, what would you say? Do you own your vehicle? Most Americans don't. In fact, today the average auto loan is at signing is approximately 27,000, and many of them stretch on for 6 or 7 years. Yeah, like if you've got a loan out for a big car for like $27,000, bro, for a car, that is one hell of a fucking. You're putting your faith in that car, bro. How long are you gonna be paying for that? And you better have a job. You better not lose a job for a fucking month. You know what I mean? You better have that fucking job for 7 years straight. Or else you ain't. You're gonna lose that car. You're gonna lose that mortgage. But you're telling me that and putting faith into something. You got people paying for their houses for 25 years, 30 years. And then you die at 70 years old. So, you know, you could be, say you pull it out at 40. What's the fucking point? You're on paying that shit, yeah, and you end up gonna die before you get to pay that shit off. You putting your faith in these material things. And that's how Esau gets you. Why not can't I pay off for a house in 3 years? Why does it take so long? Because Esau don't want no one to own nothing, mate. He knows what he's fucking doing, man. In fact, today the average... Okay, what about your home? Do you own it? Most Americans don't. In fact, overall, the banks have a much greater ownership interest in our homes and land than we do. But even if you have your home totally paid off, does that mean that you actually own it? Well, no, not really. Just see what happens if you quit paying your property taxes, rent, to the proper authorities. So if they can take your home away from you not paying rent, property taxes, do you really own it? That is something to think about. What about all of your stuff? Do you own it? Perhaps. But a very large percentage of us. And you know, you got people that buy a lot of trainers and clothes. You think that makes you wealthy, bro? That don't mean. How you go and resell that shit? That ain't no wealth, man. A bit of cheap fucking materials. Look at my trainers and all that. You know, people are stupid out here. Okay. Matter of fact, let me get this scripture out. Then I'll go back to that. Haggai 1:6. Ye have sown so much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Yeah, so, you know, you eat, but tomorrow you're thinking about where you're going to get the next meal from. You drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And ye that earn wages, earneth wages to be put in a bag with holes. It's like every day, man. You relying on that month check to keep that roof over your head, to keep that food in your fridge, okay, to keep them clothes on your back, because you might need new clothes. You know, you relying on the monthly wages. And if they don't come, you're fucked. So that makes you a slave, bro. You know, you ain't own nothing. And it says, he that earneth wages to be put into a bag with holes. That's them. That's on Jake, man. You look how much businesses you see Israelites making. They open up the business, and then what happens? The people that might be these Benjamites. It might be, you know, the little oxtail shop, and that shit closes down. It was open for 2 years, 3 years. Then the next minute, the shit is closed down. Or you get your monthly check, and then you paid out so much fucking debt, so much bills that you cannot you got a budget to last for what you and your kids are gonna eat in the fridge. But you people want to fuck, but you want to stay here. But this is the American dream. You fucking crazy bastards, mate. But this is just the reality of what's going on in the world. This is the reality of what's going on. I'll read it again. Haggai 1:6. You have sown much and bring in little. You do know that fucking you might work for 50 hours. You might do 40 hours, and you might go up to 50 hours, 60 hours extra shifts. But you had to drive to work, so that was your petrol. You had to pay the bills on the car, the road tax, the MOT. You had to pay You had to pay the effing you had to pay the your bills in the house, your mortgage or your rent, your gas, your electric, okay, and all other expenses and amenities that come in, and you have to pay that. And then guess what? You bring in little. You thinking, damn, where the hell all this money go? Then on top of that, you get taxed. On top of that, you even get taxed. The very check that you make, the tax that. But you people talking about you want to stay here, you know, give me a break. Okay, let me go back to this article. Where was that? But it says, alright, what about all your stuff? Do you own it perhaps? But a very large percentage of us have willingly enslaved ourselves in order to acquire all of that stuff. You know, people have got things that are not even assets, man. Just fucking stupid material things. And that's how Esau gets you, man, through that materialism. You fucking trainers. Jake's worry about Jordans and shit. You know, that's not, like, what the hell is that, man? You flashy pair of Jordans. You know? There's more to life than you fucking Jordans, mate. Typically, today, the typical US household that has at least one credit card is approximately $15. Oh, sorry, $15,000 in credit card debt. And if you do not pay off those credit card balances, the credit companies will unleash the hounds on you. And at the end, they'll come to your house and take all your shit. Have you heard of an encounter with a debt collector? That can be absolutely brutal. And they use those tactics because they work. In fact, they are so good at what they do that many of those that own debt collection companies have become exceedingly wealthy. Yachts, mansions, extravagant dinner parties. Life is good for the founders of one of the nation's biggest government debt collectors. This is from CNN article, by the way. That firm, Line Barger, Gowen, Blair and Sampson, rakes in big money from government contracts that allow it to pursue debtors over toll violations, taxes and parking tickets. While the debts often start small, the Austin-based firm charges high fees which can add hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the bill. After growing this business from a small Texas law firm in the 1970s to a nationwide debt collection powerhouse, the firm's founders and top brass have walked away with millions of dollars. And I haven't even mentioned our collective debts yet. We have willingly chosen to collectively enslave ourselves on a local and a state and a national level. Yeah, man, because you know, in this system, man, you're slaves to the powers that be. You know, these stupid minimum wage jobs that you work in, you think you're gonna ever excel to the next level, become a millionaire? Yeah, if you just work hard in life. You know, these dudes work hard to the fucking old and grey. They got bad backs and they drop dead. Talking about some damn pension. I mean, come on, bro. Anyway, these elites, they all Jake more than fucking reparations, man. They all the blood. You know, they took everything, man. You know, this whole earth was used off this transatlantic slave trade. That's how they got this earth. And killing and murdering. You know, let me get that. John 10:10. The thief cometh not before to steal and to kill and to destroy. How did Esau get this land? He stole it from the Native Americans. He murdered them in cold blood because he's the devil that the Bible speaks of. And now he's walking around all proud. But you know what? He's going to get his, man. Table's going to be turned on you, Esau. Okay? He's out here all having fun and all that and enjoying himself. Well, that's only for a short moment. It says, I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. So we're waiting for the kingdom. We're waiting for Yahushua to deliver us. And we get to the kingdom, and you can't be fucking trying to make it in hell. Like, this is hell. This system is you slaves. It is bad enough that we are doing this to ourselves, but we are also cruelly, sadly, saddling future generations of Americans with the largest amount of debt in the history of the planet. The following is from my previous article entitled "Barack Obama says that what America really needs is a lot more debt." Now, it ain't just a fucking Barack Obama, man. This goes back to the international bankers. Barack Obama is nothing on. He was just a pawn, a little hammer in office. He ain't really pulling the strings. Okay. So I ain't even gonna read that. Give me a sec, let me get this. These devils like to think, oh, Barack Obama, he was just a fucking pawn. To who? The international bankers, mate. The Rothschilds, Rockefellers. Okay. So there you go, man. You slaves. You know, you got this debt that you can't never pay off. You living in debt. You live. Your life is a debt. And you people think that these interest rates are fucking... Give me a break, man. Anyway, let me get... There's some of you know what? We're not even worrying about people that don't understand what we're saying, man. Because you go grey early, bro. Worrying about some of these dudes. Let me start from 1. Baruch 3:1. O Lord Almighty, power of Israel, the soul in anguish, the troubled spirit cried unto thee. Hear, O Lord, and have mercy, for thou art merciful, and have pity upon us, because we have sinned before thee. So we're in this predicament because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments. For thou endurest forever, and we perish utterly. O Lord Almighty, Yahweh, thou power of Israel, hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites and their children, which have sinned before thee, and not hearkened unto the voice of thee, their power, for the which cause these plagues cleave unto us. Remember not the iniquities of our forefathers, but think upon thy power, and thy name now at this time, because the name Yahweh is important, bro. That's the keys of salvation. That's the name of the Lord. You got dudes running around saying the name of the Lord is not important. No, F you. Why would I even want to listen to that? That don't make no sense. The name of the Lord is not important. Okay, give me a break. For thou art the Lord our power, and thee, O Lord, will we praise. And for this cause thou hast put thy fear in our hearts, to the intent that we should call upon thy name and praise thee in our captivity. For we have called to mind all the iniquity of our forefathers that have sinned before thee. So we're in slavery, man. All these Negroes run around thinking that they're free. They don't understand how the system works. They don't understand nothing. They're running around with bills and debts, and if they don't pay them, they're homeless. You know what I mean? They can't eat. But that makes you free. That you're free, right? You lose your car, you know what I mean? But you're free. You can get laid off at the job, but you're free. I'm free. I'm working 50 hours a week for the rest of my life. I'm free, yeah. Okay. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our forefathers, iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. So when you go into it, what did it say? We're subject to payments. Bro, this day is subject to payments, bro. Subject to debt. Subject to the international banking families that are ruling on high. Everything's in the Bible. And the Lord even said to the disciples, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Because the disciples back then, they didn't even want to pay no tax. Just thinking, fuck this man's system. Guess what? The Lord said, whose face is on the fucking money? It's his shit. Give him his shit, man. Because what we're going to get from the Lord is beyond all of this, mate. It's way beyond all of this crap. You know? Like, the Lord's going to give us everlasting life, man. And blessings abundantly evermore. But here it is, you Negroes are chasing FRNs. It's like that board game Monopoly, man. You're chasing it for the rest of your life. You want the newest car. I want a car update. I want the latest trainers update. He's got you in a loop. He's sort of got you so-called Negroes in a loop, mate. Anyway, I'm gonna close it here. This is a topic I could be on. Could do, you know, you could be here for 2 hours with it, but pretty much with that, I'm gonna say shalom, you know.